Hello, everyone. This is Laura, and welcome back to Become a Fluent English Speaker. Today is day 3 of 7 in our series, 7 Days of English You Were Never Taught. So far, we've discovered 2 interesting things. On day 1, we learned why native speakers don't always pronounce every word clearly. On day 2, we learned that English isn't only about the literal meaning of words. Context can completely change what someone means. Today, we're going to discover another hidden part of English, and it explains something very strange. Sometimes, you can create a sentence that is grammatically correct, but a native speaker still thinks, that's not how we usually say it.
Why?
Because of collocations. Let me tell you a quick story. When I was learning English, I wanted to describe a very busy day. I said, I had a strong rain this morning. The sentence sounded logical to me. Rain was heavy. So I thought, strong rain. But a native speaker would normally say, heavy rain. My grammar wasn't really the problem. I knew what the words meant. The problem was the combination. English has certain words that naturally appear together. We call these combinations collocations. For example, make a decision. We normally say, I need to make a decision. We don't usually say, I need to do a decision. Both make and do can mean performing an action, but English has developed particular combinations that sound natural to native speakers. We say, make a decision, make a mistake, make a promise, but do homework, do business, do your best. This can be frustrating for English learners. You may know every word. You may understand the grammar, yet your sentence can still sound unusual. That's because native speakers don't always build sentences one word at a time. They often remember groups of words. Think about the phrase, nice to meet you. You probably don't stop and think about each individual word. You recognize the whole expression. The same thing happens with thousands of combinations in English. Take a break. Have a look. Catch a cold. Pay attention. Keep in touch. Save time. Heavy traffic. Strong coffee. Deep sleep. These combinations become familiar through repeated exposure. This is one reason reading and listening are so important. When you repeatedly hear a phrase, your brain starts recognizing it as a unit. You don't have to consciously calculate every word. Let's look at another example. Imagine you want to describe coffee. You might say, powerful coffee. People would probably understand you. But the natural expression is strong coffee. Now imagine rain. We usually say, heavy rain, net, strong rain. For sleep, we commonly say, deep sleep, net, strong sleep. For traffic, heavy traffic, net, strong traffic. Notice something? The word strong is not wrong. It's simply not the word English normally pairs with these particular nouns. That's the fascinating part. Collocations are partly about habit. A language develops patterns over time. Native speakers hear these patterns thousands of times. Eventually, some combinations simply feel right. Others feel strange, even when they're technically understandable. This is why memorizing individual vocabulary words isn't always enough. Suppose you learn the word decision. You write, decision equals a choice. That's useful, but you can learn much more by remembering. Make a decision. Now you've learned the word together with its natural partner. Instead of learning attention, learn, pay attention. Instead of learning mistake, learn, make a mistake. Instead of learning progress, learn, make progress. Instead of learning experience, learn, gain experience. This can make your English more automatic. There's another benefit. Collocations can improve your listening. Imagine someone says, we had heavy traffic this morning. If you've heard heavy traffic many times, you recognize the whole phrase immediately. You don't need to process each word separately. Your brain recognizes the pattern. This is similar to recognizing a familiar face. You don't look at someone's eyes, nose, mouth, and hair separately and calculate whether you know them. You recognize the whole face. Language can work in a similar way. Experienced speakers recognize familiar groups of words. That's one reason natural English can become faster and easier to understand. So how can you learn collocations? Here's a simple method. When you learn a new word, don't immediately close your dictionary. Look at 2 or 3 common words that appear with it. For example, decision, make a decision, difficult decision, final decision. Then create your own sentence. I need to make a difficult decision. Now you're not simply memorizing the word, you're learning how English actually uses it. You can do the same while watching English videos. When you hear an interesting phrase, don't write down only one word. Write down the whole expression. If someone says, I'm running out of time, don't only write, run. Write, I'm running out of time. That complete expression is much more useful. And there's an important lesson here. You don't need to sound complicated to sound natural. Sometimes natural English is actually simpler. You don't need a huge vocabulary if you know how common words work together. A learner with 5,000 individual words may still sound unnatural. Another learner with fewer words but many useful phrases can sound much more natural. So don't only ask, what does this word mean? Start asking, what words usually come with it? That question can change the way you learn English. Before we finish today's episode, let's review some useful collocations from today's lesson. Make a decision. Make a mistake. Pay attention. Take a break. Make progress. Heavy traffic. Heavy rain. Strong coffee. Deep sleep. Try saying them aloud. Don't say only the individual words. Say the whole expression. This helps your brain become familiar with the natural pattern. Now here's your Day 3 challenge. Choose 5 English words you've recently learned. For each word, find one common word combination. Then create one sentence using the complete phrase. For example, progress, make progress. I've made a lot of progress in English. Don't memorize progress alone. Remember, make progress. That's how you begin learning English in chunks instead of isolated pieces. And once you start noticing collocations, you'll see them everywhere. In movies, in podcasts, in conversations, in books, even in advertisements. You'll suddenly realize that English speakers aren't choosing every word from scratch. They're using familiar patterns, and the more patterns you learn, the more natural English becomes. Before you leave, answer today's question in the comments. What's one English phrase you learned that sounded strange at first but later became natural to you? I'd love to hear your answers. Tomorrow, in Day 4 of 7, we're going to explore another fascinating problem. You may know plenty of English, but still sound much more formal than you realize. We'll discover why that happens and how English changes depending on the situation. If you're enjoying the series, subscribe to become a fluent English speaker and come back for Day 4. This is Laura, and remember, don't just learn English words. Learn the words that naturally live together. Keep listening, keep learning, and I'll see you tomorrow for Day 4.